Hello and welcome to Karibuni Jikoni. My name is Chef Carol, and today on this cooking class I'll be showing you how to make some nice juicy beef stew that will be spiced. I'll also be adding some vegetables in. So when you're choosing your cut, this is just a normal cut. It's not a fillet or the back, which is normally very expensive. For stews, you can just take any normal cut, but you have to work on it. And to work on my meat, I always need a knife that is sharp and also in front, so that I can cut into my meat. While doing that, I'll just start frying my onions. And I'm that kind of a person who likes many onions. So I'll put in some oil. And then the onions. You know, the onions help your stew also to be thick. When you fry the onions well, and the taste from the onions is also very intense and nice with beef stew. So you start by cutting all the parts that you don't need. Mostly when you hold one end, you can cut your meat very well. You pull a bit, that goes really well to the end. So you don't have to cut small pieces, you see. That's really easy. And just take care, just don't cut a lot of your meat away. So just take the kind of skin out. So I have to also take care of my onions, of course. With beef, it won't be a problem if they turn golden brown. And that's what I want to have. I want to have a nice color for my beef stews. So I'll just let the onions fry to a golden brown color. That's different when you're doing chicken. When you're doing chicken, because the chicken is a bright color, you don't let it be brown. The onions get brown. So here we are. So when your cut is clean, you know, this nice red color. So I have to do this too. So here we are. So, and then the other thing you have to consider when you're cutting your meat, it's not only the cooking that makes the meat soft, it's also how you cut your meat. So you see the fibers are running down on this piece of meat. So you don't slice your meat this way along the fibers. You slice your meat, you cut your meat against the fibers. So that means your meat will be nice and soft when you cook it. So we keep stirring the onions so that they don't burn. So, and during this time, I won't do very small pieces. So you just do some chunks that are not so small, because the meat also reduces in size when you're cooking. So here we are. And what I also, it's also very important, is to have a knife that is sharp. So I always try to sharpen my knives often. That means before I start working with the knife and also in between. So my onions are starting to get brown. So I have to work faster here. And you can see this nice red color of the meat. Buy fresh meat. And this stew, I'll also be adding some spices. I said it's a spiced beef stew. But the thing about beef is that you don't need to add so much of the spices because it already has a very nice taste. That means you just put a little bit of spice to enhance the taste. This is different from something like chicken because some of these spring chickens we buy, they don't really have a nice taste. And that's why you need to, do a little bit more spice with curry and all these things. But beef doesn't, you don't have to do that with beef. So I also put salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper on the meat. So here we are. And I massage that into my meat because I want my meat to already be spiced before I put it into the onions. So the onions are getting brown. Yeah. And what I also have is some garlic, some ginger, and chili. And that kind of a person who like my food a bit spicy, and you can do that with chili. So what I don't do is that I don't dice my chili into small pieces because I don't want to bite into that skin. I just want to have this nice, hot or spicy spiciness in my food without having to really bite into that really hot chili skin. So here we are. Now it's getting the color I want it to have. A nice golden brown color. And I will be serving my beef stew with a creamy mashed potatoes. So my potatoes are already cooking. And now it's time to put in my garlic. Oh, the garlic and the ginger. These are two things I use very, very often in the kitchen. So here we are. Just let my onions brown a little bit more. And I'll be using 3 colors of pepper. That is green pepper, red, and yellow. This gives my dish later a very nice color when it's on a plate. And it's also, of course, a bit healthy when you have vegetables in. So now it's time to put in the meat. Ah, yeah. So, and when you work with meat or chicken or whatever other meat you're using, please always clean your chopping boards. Or if you have more, just take that one away where you have dealt with raw meat. For vegetables, always take a clean chopping board. So I'll take my, keep stirring. And the other thing is, if you have a chopping board that is moving around, one way to have a stable chopping board is putting a cloth under your chopping board. And that way, you see, I'll show you this. If I have it like that, it will be moving around. So if I have a cloth under it, it's stable and I can be able to chop nicely. So I will take another chopping board and I will use this for my paper bell. Keep stirring. So this is also the time where I put in my spices, because you have to put the spices as early as possible to make the meat suck that spicy taste from the spices. So when you put your spices later, the nice taste will be in the sauce, but not inside your meat. So do that as early as possible. So these are my spices. You already know how to make this because I showed you. And I'll do 1.5 teaspoons of spice. 1.5, or maybe, yeah, 1.5. That will be enough. Always close your jars nicely. So the other thing I always do, in case you didn't watch my other videos, cardamom. I don't mix cardamom in my spices because of the hard skin, which is, you know, when you fry it, it burns quickly. So what I do with my cardamom, I cook it, I boil it with water, and then I have some nice aromatic water with cardamom. So basically it's just cardamom boiled in water. And this you can keep for about 4 days in your fridge. And you just put in some of the water. Oh, it really smells good. Cardamom is also very, makes some very nice, tasty tea. So what I do when I'm cooking tea is I combine cardamom with ginger, and then I have some nice Kenyan tea. So now it's time for my meat to just simmer. So in the meantime, I will prepare my pepper. You can see they're really tight. That means they're fresh. So when they're looking wrinkled, you better not buy them because they are not fresh. So when you're cutting your pepper, it's easy when you just hold with your 2 fingers, hold in, and with your thumb, hold up here and pull. That's how I do my pepper. I don't have to slice, I just hold and pull. So I'll be doing 3 colors. It's easy to work on your paper. And the thing about black, these bell peppers, they have a very nice taste that complements the beef taste. And what we are looking for when we are making a beef stew, you look for things that complement the taste, but not take away the nice beef taste. Because in this dish, the beef is the star. The beef is the main star. So what you're bringing in are the other actors that help the main star to shine. So we're using all these things in helping the main star to stand out. And can you smell that? Can you smell that? Yeah, so I will be doing some small cuts. So I'll do 4 pieces. And I always take out this white part inside to have my pepper nice and clean. And the seeds, of course, I also don't need them. So I'm used to using many different knives. So if you have only one knife at home, it's okay. This is just, things you're used to doing. I find it easier to use a small knife when I have to go into something. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the way, you can use red onions or white onions. It doesn't really matter. The thing in Germany is that the red onions are more expensive than the white onions. That's why we normally use white onions for stews and things that you're cooking. And I use red onions for salads, because the red onions have a nice color, which can also be used to decorate your dishes. So I think that will be enough. Some green. So, and I have to check if my potatoes are okay. Okay, they're doing good. So this is, when you're doing beef stew, it takes about 45 minutes when you have normal cuts. And so you just let your stew simmer. You can add some little water, but my beef stew is wet enough, so it's not burning. And this is a good time to... Some people ask me how I can slice things fast. And what I do is, you put your knife, the end, you put it on your chopping board, and then you just slide the knife. Slide it back and forth like this. So if you have something like a pepper, you just back and forth, back and forth. This is something that needs practice, because, I cook every day, and that means I slice and dice a lot of things. So these are things that I do faster. Don't try to do this the first time. You need some practice in this. This is how I started learning when I was doing my apprenticeship to be a chef. The first things you learn is how to use a knife and the knife techniques. So start slowly. When you start learning, just don't expect things to happen overnight, and always take care of your fingers. I always say hold things with your fingers like this, because the knife will slide into the chopping board and not into your fingers. So when you're holding things like this, it's very easy to cut your fingers. So always try to learn this kind of holding. So our pepper is looking good. And the good thing about combining colors, it makes your dish interesting. The colors make your dish interesting. And you don't put your pepper, your bell pepper direct into your meat, because they'll cook and the color won't be nice anymore. Just wait until some few minutes before your meat is ready. Now we wait a bit until the meat has tenderized. This will be about 25-30 minutes, and I can put in my my pepper, and I'll also be doing some tomatoes to decorate. You realize that I'm not putting any tomatoes into my meat. So what I'm doing with the tomatoes is I take the skin off. The other way you can, if you need many tomatoes, what you can do is boil some water. I showed you this in another video. Boil water, then do a small cross into your tomatoes, but not so deep, just a bit. Then dip your tomatoes into the boiling water for about 2 minutes. Don't let them get so soft, because you also want to dice them. And then when the skin starts peeling off, you take them off. And the best thing would be, when you take them off, to dip them into water with some ice cubes. That way your tomatoes cool off quickly and they don't continue cooking. Because when you take off your tomatoes from the water, it doesn't mean that the cooking process has ended. The cooking continues. And tomatoes are very delicate, so they will continue cooking, and after that you will have some tomato puree. So, but because I only have 2 tomatoes, I don't have to boil water for that. You also have to think about the energy you're using, or your gas. For 2 tomatoes, you don't need to boil water for. It's only when you have more, because that goes faster. So my tomatoes are done. And what I need is, you can, if you're doing many tomatoes, for example, and you don't need the inner part of the tomatoes, you take them out and don't throw them away, because you can do a very nice tomato sauce with this with the inner part of your tomatoes. And you can use that, for example, to do a nice sauce to eat with spaghetti, for example, or some chicken. Goes well with nice tomato sauce. I'll do a video on sauces, how you can prepare different sauces next time. Easy sauces that you can keep in your fridge, and especially if you have children and they're coming from school and you have to prepare a dish fast, that you can use these sauces. So now I'll just dice my small, nice pieces. They're also known as tomato concasse. Try to do some same size pieces. So here we are. And if they're not cooked, it's a nice way to decorate your dish. So that will be enough for my dish. And I'll also be putting some coriander to have the nice green color and also the taste from the coriander, which is also a nice complementing taste to the beef. So our beef will be ready in about 20 minutes. So my beef has been cooking now for about 42 minutes, and it's nice and tender. And during this time, I was preparing the mashed potatoes. It's just creamy mashed potatoes. So what I do with my mashed potatoes is that after boiling them, I mash them, and I put in some cold butter. So some people warm the butter. I find that I think when you put some cold butter in, there's more taste inside in your mashed potatoes. And then I put some milk mixed with cream. You can leave the cream out, but your puree or your mashed potatoes are really nice and creamy when you have some cream in them. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to see if I have enough spices, salt and pepper, if I need to add something. Yeah. I put in my chili now, and I'll add a little bit of salt. I'm adding a little bit of salt because I'll also be putting my paprika in, or my pepper in. And when the pepper comes in, that means that it will also take a bit of the taste from the sauce. But what I also do is I put some black pepper into my green peppers, or bell peppers, green, red, and yellow, nice colors. And then I put them in. So don't let them cook for a long time. We want the color to remain nice and fresh. So here we are. You could add some water if you like more sauce in your stew. What I'll also do now is slice in some coriander. Especially with the stems. And I'll leave some for my garnish later. So here we are. You're doing that so that the coriander can integrate with the sauce. And what I have now, I will mix with my tomatoes. So just cover for about 2 minutes. So, and that will be my garnish. So I already smell the chili, because the chili, I put it just a minute ago. I didn't want to have a very hot dish. So now it's time to serve my food. This is my favorite part of the cooking, where I get to see what I have done. So we make some space, some everything we don't need. And I will start with the puree. So what happens with the puree, after you have mashed your puree, I don't know what you use to mash, but you can either use a mwiko or a cooking spoon. You can also use a presser to press the potatoes. We'll do mashed potatoes on another video, but after you put in the milk and the cream and the butter, use a whisk. Because when you whisk your puree, it gets nice and creamy. And what is also important for puree, or rather I love the taste of nutmeg. So you just grate some little nutmeg into your puree. It gives it a nice taste. I had already put some. And so now I place my puree in the middle. Do some kind of a hole. Just look at how that is looking. Nice and fresh. The peppers are still green and red and yellow. They haven't lost their color. And then I just place everything in the middle. So sometimes you have, when you need to be precise, you have to use such things. They'll help you not to have your whole plate with sauce, and your dish looks clean when you present it to your guests. Some nice green pepper. So I can also put in some, 1, 2, 3 pieces of meat. And then I do some sauce. And then what I now do on top is some tomatoes. So with the tomatoes, you can allow them to be around the plate, and some so here we are, my spiced beef stew with mashed potatoes. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time on my cooking class. My name is Chef Carol. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a Chef Carol show, so that you can see more of my videos. Until next time, bye-bye for now.